was it, what happened? And in the north was even more devastated because the chief officer of the coup was Nnamdi Ezekwe. Sorry, it was Ezeogu.
Yeah.
And he is actually Kanu. He's actually his name is Kaduna.
Kaduna.
Good, because he was actually a northerner. Just like you talk about living in the north.
Yeah.
You see, Nigeria was one. Although he's an Igbo, he was born in the north. So technically, we should say he's a northerner.
Okay.
Now, in the school that he went to, it was the Sardauna of Sokoto that picked him out amongst the other people within the class to say, you guys need to join the army. Okay. So now, having joined the army on the behest of the head of who's their religious leader, the Sardauna of Sokoto, and then he personally killed the Sardauna of Sokoto.
Really?
Yes, of course. So you can see now how people are looking at, oh my God, we got a Trojan horse amongst our midst. People that we see as our people suddenly went to kill our man. You understand?
Right.
And so I'm just trying to put the perspective of what happened. I'm not condoning what happened in any shape or form. So what happened then is that you now had a situation where people were celebrating the coup. Everybody was actually, but then some northerners will be seeing that we have Easterners amongst us celebrating the coup, and then the crazy people among the zealots and whatever will say, no, we must deal with them. The traitors amongst us. And so they started this crazy pogrom and started killing. In fact, it wasn't just Igbos, because that's another thing. Non-northerners were being killed. If you were from the south, if you were from the middle, some people from the middle belt got killed as well. But the majority, of course, were from the southeast, because of course they're quite traders. They go out to lots of parts and nooks and crannies of the country. So they were mostly affected because they tend to stick together in a particular area, whether it's Sabo, Ngiri, or whatever it is they tend to have. So and that's a problem when you all congregate into a specific area. That area becomes a target.
Of course.
So there was a program for sure.
Right. I want to go a bit behind because this is history.
But history is what's reflecting us today.
And obviously, the biggest problem that exists at the moment is that it's 50 years after the war. And these scars, they are scars. You were here when the South African guy, when we did the program about what was going on, about xenophobia. And you saw exactly the difference was that, okay, they were getting other Africans. But also the young man suggested, he said, look, the Truth and Reconciliation program, which the South Africans had tried to do, helped quite a lot because it brings out most of this, but it also helps in the healing. But I have a feeling Nigeria didn't do this. The Igbos never sat down with the rest, and the rest of Nigeria. This Truth and Reconciliation could have helped in healing the wounds.
The moment the war finished, Gowon sat down there and said there is no victor, no vanquish. While that comment was made, they were finding ways of making sure that the Igbos remain in the cage.
Really?
So from the moment they abandon property, if you say there's no victor, no vanquish, you create what I call a tabula rasa. When Mandela was in prison, when he was released, everybody thought South Africa was going to go to war, and the white people will be killed and the white people will have to leave. But Mandela knew, he saw tomorrow. When you keep a people oppressed, you are responsible for their reaction. You cannot continue to marginalize a people and then you expect them not to react. The problem with Nigeria today, even while in school, I was in the north. Do you know how it feels when your father is struggling to pay your school fees and your schoolmates who are Nigerians like you, their parents work like your parents work, they queue up for bursary. You come into the university with 340 something, they come into the university with 193, and they're in the same school. So you have a nation where there are first class citizens and there are second class citizens. The problem with Nigeria is that Nigeria is built on lies. Lies that we love ourselves, lies that things will get better, lies that everybody is a Nigerian. But in practice, it is not the truth. In the military, the military today is dominated by the West. I don't want to go into this South, East, South, West, South, something. They created all those. to put more division amongst us. There's always a north, a west, and an east.
Yeah.
Let's face that. How many Easterners?
That's not true.
How many? And the Middle Belt. That is the region that I knew when I was growing up. Suddenly, the politicians sat down and then they said, "This is the northeast, northwest, north south." All those things, as far as it's very difficult to comprehend, and that is even seeking us deeper into more divide, where somebody from the southeast or south
I disagree
says
completely.
it's put it. But the point I'm trying to make here is that if you want peace, you initiate peace.
Yeah, yeah.
You put modalities in place that will make everybody secure, everybody feel wanted. We migrated from Nigeria. I'm living in the United Kingdom. They say some whites are racist, but sometimes, you know, here nobody cares whether you come from London, Manchester, or wherever.
Yeah.
You're given a job. Nobody cares your nationality. If you're qualified for the job and they feel you can do it, they'll give it to you. In Nigeria, that does not happen. From the moment I, as an Igbo person, somebody from the south might not feel what I feel. The moment I get into Nigeria, I come out of the airplane, you feel the impact. The moment the security guard, the immigration person takes your passport, looks at it, you're Igbo, your condition is completely different.
Oh, come
You,
on.
I'm telling you what I have. I'm speaking about what I have witnessed. I'm speaking about what a lot of people, you know, experience sometimes is something. I give you a typical example. I had a classmate who was working with the Nigerian embassy. We boarded the same flight. We got to Nigeria. I was chatting with him. We got to the immigration. The guy spoke Hausa to him. The moment he took his passport, he said, "Ranka Dede." He greeted him. In less than 2 seconds, he was out. I was there for 40 minutes. Right? He took my passport and they kept passing it around. At the end of the day, when you say you are a Nigerian, I am, when people talk about being Nigerian, I would say I am one person who can claim to be a Nigerian. Born from Imo State, schooled in Port Harcourt, went to Lagos, went to Kaduna, Jos, worked in the north. For God's sake, I feel I have been there and I've seen it. But when you treat a people differently, take for instance, we have seaport. First seaport was in Calabar. They shut it down. The second one in Port Harcourt, they shut it down. We as people who are into business, we have to go to Lagos to clear our goods. In the north, they have a non-seaport. They don't have any sea, but they have a cargo seaport. They can bring in things, clear it in the north, but we from the east, we cannot go to an airport, which is just like 1 hour from us. The marginalization of the Igbos is something that you cannot excuse.
Because one thing that beats me here, Femi, maybe you might help, be in position to help, is Nigeria is made up of 200 tribes?
250 ethnic groups.
Exactly. Now, and tribes as well, and languages as well.
Yeah, and languages and so on. But you're getting that the biggest problem you are facing at the moment is all the other ones are silent. They don't have a problem.
The point is, I completely disagree with.
Is it in the agreement? Is it in some kind of understanding?
The thing is, see, everybody can give their own narrative and talk about their personal experiences, and sometimes what you see on the surface is not necessarily what's happening in reality. So at the end of the day, look, people. I mean, when you come into a country, there are Igbo officers, there are Hausa officers, there are Yoruba officers. There's no discrimination there. Now, marginalization is happening to everybody in the sense that the fact of the matter is the North was educationally disadvantaged than the South. They talk about national character. So that was used as a way to say that, look, you know what, let's not favor one area than the other. But unfortunately, due to the census and the history of Nigeria, the Northerners are more in terms of population than the South. Now, also, because they're disadvantaged, they are...
The census is talking about was based on the fraudulent census.
That was what I said. So,
let him finish.
But what I'm saying to you is that is where we are now, and I can bring in facts to show that despite that lopsided census, the reality today with the birth rate of the Northerners, the lack of education in the North, their population is growing rampantly, and the marriages, childhood marriages, and so on, their population will be growing much, much faster than we in the South. So even if there was discrepancies, that gap is closing big time. And also you've got all neighboring countries coming in as well. So forget about population. That's not the issue. The issue is that everybody is marginalized. I'm on many groups, or do our groups, this group, that, they're telling you how they're marginalized. Go to the South, they're marginalized. That's why you had Niger Delta, Avengers, Mend, and whatever. Go to the Middle Belt, they're marginalized. So the point is, there is no specific part of Nigeria that isn't marginalized than any other. The only difference is that the Southeast had a war. That war is history now. We need to learn the lessons of that history and move forward. If we keep on continuing to repeat that history and continue to cry over what's happened. Look, just as he said, so many people lost lives and lost property. Let me finish. They lost their property within that war, okay? I know many people that got their property. Igbos alike. I know people that weren't slaughtered. I know people. So at the end of the day, in war situations, it's never going to be perfect. If you go to the American Civil War, if you go to Iraq now, go to Libya now, go to Lebanon, I understand. Cyprus, even in Cyprus, the Turkish and the Cypriots are still fighting over who owns what and whatever.
I'm trying to bring us back to the situation right now, because after 50 years of the war, after 50 years of what happened, by now, people should be sitting down and saying, look, this is the situation we are in. Because I've been trying to get information from the Igbo states and the governors, and also when they met, they were talking about similar problems which are existing in other states. For example, youth unemployment.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, even in my country. It's there.
Marginalization is everywhere. There's no nation in Nigeria that isn't marginalized.
The problem is this is where I put the blame on the central government. If the central government can't see this problem, that's why these voices are coming out.
We have a federal government system, and I see the problem not as being at the federal. I see the problem at the state. If you don't have jobs in your state, you need to blame your governor and your governments. They're elected by you. You understand? People talk about, they're going to Fulanize us, they're going to Islamize us. I said, I'm a Christian, they're not going to Islamize me. I'm not going to turn Muslim tomorrow. That's impossible. Oh, they're going to Fulanize us, or they're going to stop me from speaking Yoruba or Igbo tomorrow. That's not going to happen. That's fake news. The thing is, people use these things for their own political agenda. They have their own political agenda, and the division of the nation is part of where they see them attaining power. They like conflict, and they attribute different reasons. Oh, it's all the herdsmen are killing everybody. It's all this, whereas kidnapping is done by every tribe. There's no tribe that's not kidnapping anybody. A lot of these kidnappings are from inside. It's family relatives that tip off people that get kidnapped.
Let's focus.
The narrative is said that it's the Fulanis that are coming down
Nigeria
to
composition as a nation.
I want to bring out something here, because I discovered that the educated and middle class Igbos are not actually interested in what's going on with the Biafra and so on. They are looking at it.
The truth about it is that
we fought that war, we lost it. Let's move on.
The truth about it is that Biafra is no longer a vision. It's an ideology that is embedded in virtually every Igbo person alive today.
All right.
Now, you described in your article, you said that IPOB is an organization. It is not.
It isn't.
It is the indigenous people of Biafra. And the indigenous people were the original people that occupy that territory, Biafra. The point I'm trying to make here is that if you want to build a nation where prosperity, peace, and progress will reign, it will show from your policies. It will show from your action. It will show from the sort of economic policies that you put in place. The truth is that Nigeria is tribalized. Everybody in Nigeria, irrespective of who the person is, they see things first of all from the tribal perspective before they look at it from the Nigerian perspective. Somebody like Femi will say, Femi is a Nigerian. He would want to see things from the Nigerian perspective. I understand that. I respect him. But when you want a functional government, it will show in everything. For crying out loud, Lagos is over congested. Abuja is purely administrative capital. Now, if you want to diversify things, you open up the country to challenge to competition, more or less. For instance, why is One Wharf not working? Everybody's asking the same thing. Why is Calabar Wharf not working?
And I can answer those questions.
I'm coming.
I can answer those
questions. The truth is that over the years, since 50 years after Biafra, the question is, has Nigeria fared? Has Nigeria treated her ethnic nationalities better? Has Nigeria provided a soft landing spot where every person in Nigeria feels accepted? That is not happening. The second thing is that the 1979 Constitution, as amended, is it the Constitution that we need for that country for us to progress? Can we go confederal and everybody will compete for the international market and grow their economy? They said the Nigerian Constitution does not allow it. The Nigerian Constitution is not static. We are suffering. We are heading towards 300 million people. A lot of our young boys, men have no job. Our girls have no place to go.
Won't change if we have a confederation. The situation won't change.
It will change.
What is the difference?
Okay.
If you have a confederation, for instance, where the federal government is in charge of whatever, how many things are in the exclusive list? Can we please look at the exclusive list?
How would that improve the people in Biafra or Southeast?
I'm coming to that. If you look at the exclusive list, why is the federal government having everything, over 18 items in the exclusive list? Can we diversify that? Can we create the enabling environment where everybody will feel that he is a Nigerian? That is not happening. Okay. Right? So we cannot want peace when there is no level playground for everybody. The question is, if you say you don't want Biafra, do you need a Python dance? Do you need to send the military? What you need to do is organize a referendum. They say that in Nigerian Constitution it is not recognized. But then you now went ahead to call IPOB a terrorist group, which invariably means that the whole Igbo people on earth are terrorists. Whether you like it or not, because you know IPOB is not an organization. I made that correction. IPOB is not an organization.
So why does it have a head called
If Nnamdi Kanu registered IPOB, IPOB, the definition is the indigenous people of Biafra. IPOB is not an organization. So when you label IPOB a terrorist group, you are virtually saying that every Igbo person is a terrorist. And that is something you can use to arrest any of us.
Just like calling all herdsmen Fulani herdsmen, when they're not all herdsmen are Fulani.
That is the truth. So why would IPOB be called a terrorist group?
Can I jump in here?
And Mieti Allah that is responsible for the death of so many people, they've not even called them a terrorist group.
Can I jump in here, please? I've heard what you've said, and I think somewhere at the top there, the central government is involved, where the powers are not centralized, are not
devolved.
They
are devolved.
Yeah, but if they are, I don't think this kind of thing would have happened, because I know it's everywhere. Africa has that problem. Not just Nigeria alone.
What my colleague is talking about is restructuring, and there are different. As I said, restructuring means different things to different people. But he talked about On Air Port, Calabar Port, Port Harcourt Port, and why they're not functioning. And I keep telling you, South is not Southeast, it's not part of Biafra. You keep on saying it is, but you can talk to the people there, and how many people from there, they don't speak Igbo, they don't accept anything like Biafra, but let them continue to deceive themselves. The fact is, those ports are not functioning, not because they are not, basically, what's happening in Nigeria is that we need what they call deep sea ports. Okay? One, Calabar, even Lagos are not deep sea ports. The ships that travel through the seas these days are massive ships. They can't berth at these ports. So if you can't berth there, it's not economical to berth there because you're using a small ship to go into Calabar and on it.
So
and
you
so on.
truly believe they are not deep sea ports?
It's not about
And
truly
nothing,
believe.
and nothing can be done to make them deep sea.
If you know,
I read international law. How do you calculate the deep sea port from the sea cliff?
No, hold on, listen. The
200 nautical miles. We've got all that.
No, the point is where the ports are right now.
Yeah.
The existing ports, they're not deep enough. Now, it's not cost effective to start digging those ports to make them
Really?
deeper. No, it's not. So what you now need to do, I'm just going to come to you. What you now need to do is build what they call new deep sea ports. So if you go to Bielsa, they already got permission and they're building a deep sea port
Femi.
in Bielsa. Let me finish.
Can I ask you one question?
Lekki deep sea port is being
The
built.
ship that come to freight oil from Calabar and River State, they birth in River State,
No,
right?
no. They birth. No, they don't. They birth
where?
They birth offshore.
Offshore.
Yes.
How many
offshore.
nautical miles from the sea cliff?
However many miles.
And then our common ships cannot do the same. Am I making sense?
They're not the same type of ships at all. You
No,
can't.
it's not the same kind.
No,
But they can come in and take the oil and bet quietly, spend months there, and you're telling me 200 nautical miles from the sea.
Oil is. Let's get the facts right, and anyone can verify. Oil is not put onto the ships at the port. Remember that these rigs are dispersed all over the place, and most of them are offshore, thousands of miles, hundreds of miles apart. They have a point where they dispense the oil. It's offshore. It's nowhere near the port.
Okay.
So don't
So
confuse
you mean that all the oil in Nigeria are offshore right now? There is no onshore oil anymore. Shell, BP, Ajib, and ELF
they have.
are not exploring oil from the onshore.
No, what I'm saying
Can I
is
jump in here, please? Can I jump in
onshore
here, please?
ones, can I just add, the onshore ones, they have pipelines that go out to where they need to go to.
Yeah.
Because the point is, if we don't speak with facts,
You see,
people would just be saying
No,
the
you
ports
see-
are not working, the ports are not working.
I'm more or less, all these problems.
They're not
Let me
efficient.
say this: all these problems would be easily sorted out if, for example, the decentralization. Because I can, as an outsider,
I've
I'm
already
looking at
told
it.
you that Bayelsa State is building a deep sea port. Lagos State is building none. Ondo and Ogun State are building
Okay,
local
build.
last site. So it's not. There's nothing stopping the people in the southeast or wherever from doing likewise.
Yeah.
If they fail to do so, that's bad leadership from their governors. Let's
look
not
at-
blaming the federal government.
Let's look at where the funds go, where the money goes. Because the
How
central
much is the
government-
money? How much is the money?
Listen. You get oil.
What is the money? The budget of Nigerian federal government is not up to $40 billion.
Okay, if it
Okay,
isn't-
so what is that for population of 200 million? Is that money, really?
Yeah.
Femi.
Is that money?
But if you're building,
Can I
if you're
ask Femi a
building
question?
from what
Femi,
you have, from what you have.
Looking at Nigeria right now, 50 years after the Civil War,
Yes.
is Nigeria where it's supposed to be? Can you honestly answer that question?
Honestly, I'll say that no, it's not. And I say that that's not because of us being a union. It's more to do with bad leadership.
Yeah,
It's got nothing
yeah.
to do
Okay,
with
so-
whether we're a federation or the type of federation.
That's what
It's
I'm
leadership.
saying, because what is happening here?
Inept leadership.
Femi, I can look at it from his point of view. On one hand, and said, okay, and my question obviously would be, said, look, okay, what have you guys done? Your governors, what are these people themselves in administration try to do in order to say, listen, they are shouting for the Igbo. Just like I can think that most of Nigeria's problems comes from the governors, not as a political structure. Not everybody is shouting to say, this is what we want.
See, you have,
This is what
you
we
have
want.
a
And
country,
maybe you get assistance when
you have a
make
country
noise.
where executive lawlessness is legal. You have a country where the politicians are the gods and the citizens have to bow to them.
Okay.
You have a country
Yeah.
where the police are under and not even, they don't even do their job. In this country, you can find the police will go to a politician if they have a reason.
Yeah.
They can. In Nigeria, a lot of things don't happen. So when you speak about saying go and hold the governors responsible,
Yeah.
how do you see the governors? They are covered by the same law
Yeah.
we are talking about,
Yeah.
where the police cannot do an effective job. We have EFCC, we have the DSS.
Yeah.
These guys have become all political.
Yeah.
In other countries, the FBI or the CIA, they are apolitical from the system.
Yeah.
I
They
agree with that.
defend the nation. So when you speak now, for instance, let me give you a typical example. The governor of Ebonyi State, He doesn't need us to be on the streets to fight and break things for him to work. He's doing a perfect job, right? Everybody's happy with him.
Okay.
He has his flaws. Then you then come down to the east, where somebody like the governor of Abia State, this young man is doing nothing.
Okay.
He's been in power for years, but you can't even touch him. The journalist that wrote about him, he's languishing in prison because of executive lawlessness, right?
Okay.
The courts are not even there for you to go and seek redress against this sort of things. You don't have the money to buy the judges. We saw what happened in Imo State, where the Supreme Court of Nigeria awarded governorship to somebody who came forth, who did not win one House of Assembly. From the previous courts, they said Ihedioha won the election. And suddenly the Supreme Court awarded 388 wards to somebody who did not win one House of Assembly, and he was declared a winner.
Okay.
This is the sort of injustice that we have in the country, where the country has become ungovernable. Right now, as we speak, the security situation in Nigeria has never been as worse as it is today, even compared during the war.
I disagree with that. That's completely.
It's the worst that has ever happened.
How can this man even speak genuinely with that statement? How can you say that?
Every day in Nigeria, people are being murdered.
How can he speak genuinely with what he said when he's here standing on the fact that there were massacres during the 60s and the pogrom that happened, and you're comparing what happened now to what happened in the 60s?
Even if we
There's
don't
no comparison
the state
whatsoever.
of security,
And I think, sorry to say,
in the worst
I think
situation.
it belies. I think it's an insult to the people that perished. To me, it's an insult to the people that perished in those days. And to say that the devastation that happened then is on the same level now, it's nowhere near comparable.
It's nowhere near comparable.
No,
at all. I agree with you. The question here is, during the war, there was a state of emergency.
Before the war.
Right? Now, what we are seeing today, with a government in place, with all the security apparatus in place, no state of emergency, no lives and properties are not safe. The question that most people are asking, do we feel comfortable belonging to Nigeria? Look at what happened in the West. They had to find a solution to the security problem. They are allowed. But try that in the East.
Oh, it's going to happen. No, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
We will have a Python dance.
No, you won't.
Because everything that we try to do, it's always given a different interpretation.
Let's have a look at this from a different point of view. It seems the Nigerian problem is a political problem.
Completely.
Political problem.
All countries' problems are political.
But the situation is such that we, the whole of Africa, and probably you Nigerians, have got to find a solution to it. And that solution is one of the things that I'm looking at. I said, look, what if any of you, for example, becomes governor of Nigeria, or becomes president of Nigeria? How would you solve the problem? Because it's
so let me address that. Let me address that. The problem of Nigeria and all these things we're talking about, even the insecurity that my colleague mentioned now, is all down to the lack of opportunity. You have a burgeoning population of unemployed youth, people that are sitting at home doing nothing, So you can see that if they have got no opportunity or chance to do something with themselves productively, they're going to, an idle man is a devil's workshop. It's inevitable that all these things of secession, Biafra, all these things, all the other ideas will be coming into their head. Now, I as much as I sympathize, and I do appreciate, as I said, some of my family members died in the war. People, I have many people that died in the war. I know so many people on all sides. So what I'm saying is I could never support war in any case. I understand the sufferings of the people on all sides. The point I'm just trying to say to you is that to try to make out like Nigeria is worse and there's no marginalization, no opportunity and whatever, to me, I think it sort of denigrates the Igbo people as a people, because they are so productive a people. They go to every nook and cranny of Nigeria. You'll find Igbos, and they're succeeding. Even outside Nigeria, they're succeeding. So, despite the marginalization, despite all what we're talking about, they're thriving all over the place. So, to me, I wonder that why is it that they're leaving the southeast in their droves on a daily basis? You go to the southeast. find how many Odile Chukuchu vehicles that are leaving, going to the southwest, going to Kanu, going to God knows
No,
where.
because they're business people.
No.
Yeah.
Because if the Biafran concept is such a wonderful scenario that we're talking about, and it's going to be successful, they should be there building that success there. Why are they moving out in their droves?
Maybe it's something to do with money. I wouldn't go
you
into
see,
details with that.
we're going into that now.
Yeah.
The fundamental truth here is that it takes nothing to build a nation.
Yeah.
Right in front of our eyes, Dubai came up from nowhere.
No, they didn't come from nowhere. They came from somewhere.
Seriously, I didn't mean it literally that way.
They have a stable leadership anyway, as you said.
Fantastic. When Dubai started, we all knew where Dubai was. The little land there, suddenly they are what they are today. Right in front of our eyes, we saw Singapore come up. We saw Hong Kong, although you can say the British helped them. The fundamental truth about this situation that we have in Nigeria is that we have a system that allows for corruption.
I agreed. 100%.
We have a system that allows for executive lawlessness.
I agree.
We have a system that does not allow for capital development. We have a system that does not allow for even private enterprise. So the question that we will ask ourselves, the question that we will ask ourselves is, if we have a government that means well, a leader that understands that when you are governing a nation, you govern everybody within the nation, not just your tribe. Now, the present government of Buhari has shown that things that were deemed not possible are possible in this government. The whole security apparatus from one section of the country.
That's not true at all.
How many people? They had a meeting yesterday. All the chief of staff had a meeting. Look at the names.
The chief of IR staff is not from the north.
Let's not deviate. The
chief of naval staff is not from the north.
The point I'm trying to make here. The point I'm trying to make here is that if truly we want a united country, if truly we want capital development, if truly we want the nation to function as one, it will start from the policies, from the mindset, from the attitude of the leaders, from the actions of the leaders. You cannot be saying one thing with your mouth and your action is different. Nigeria as it is today is not moving towards the path of progress.
And why is that?
Because the government has not started doing the things that they need to do. The first thing that I would suggest, let's not talk about problems. Let's talk about solutions. The first thing that Nigeria needs to do is to have a dialogue, a proper, sincere, open dialogue of all ethnic nationalities to understand what they want. The 1979 Constitution was written without the consultation of the people. The amalgamation of 1914 was done without the consultation of the people. The Berlin Conference, no Africa was consulted. We were partitioned and made to be. Now you can start like what South Africa did. Genuine conversation with people, not moving your tanks to territories that say we've had enough. We want to seek a solution. If violence begets violence, Nigeria is a country that has always believed when people demonstrate, when people go to the street, shoot them down. And we've seen this action happen. Look at the Shiites being mowed down on a day-to-day basis for peacefully demonstrating.
They're not always peacefully demonstrating. I've seen them stoning armies. And yes, of course. And people do die.
I want to find out something here.
People stone and you shoot them with live ammunition.
They do that in all countries, even in America.
We haven't talked about. Religion plays a certain part here now.
I don't think religion plays a certain part at all. I think it doesn't
because
actually.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. This is not a matter of religion.
No. It's not a matter of religion, but I have a belief that somewhere along the way, the Christianity and because the constant killings that have happened in the north, and now churches in the south are advocating about it.
Look, the thing about it,
we must
you have to, Steve, you have to be careful with what you're saying. The majority of people that are being killed in the north are being killed by Muslims killing Muslims. They're not killing all Christians.
Yeah,
they're
but
killing themselves.
Their church is being burnt. I've seen this.
That happens.
Yeah,
That happens as well. But
Yeah.
the majority of, I'm saying that the majority of killings are Muslim upon Muslim. Or people will even call them not Muslims because Boko Haram is not really a proper Muslim. You understand? So they are killing themselves. So Northerners, in fact, more Northerners are being killed than Southerners. But if you come to some media, they all portray as if to say it's the Southerners that are all being killed.
Do you know
That's
why?
not the truth.
Do you know why I'm saying I'm saying religion needs to play a part? Because if you bring religious leaders, the way the South Africans did when the Truth and Reconciliation, Bishop Tutu and all the other religious, hang on a minute, they all sat together and all these things had to, the reconciliation had to happen. Now, the Nigerian,
what my colleague was
Nigerian
it is
Christians
quite,
and Muslim leaders
it is
haven't
quite,
sat
no,
together at
it's
all.
quite
They do
strange.
talk
It's
about
quite
They
strange.
haven't sat together
See,
at
it is
all.
quite strange
Yeah.
when Femi says religion is not playing a role. It
No,
is
it's
strange.
not,
It
it's
is
not, it's
strange.
not.
Yeah.
Do you know why I say it is strange? You have today, when I was growing up, for the slightest provocation, especially if you're living in the north, something that has no connection
At all,
with
yeah.
Nigeria. I remember an incident of something that happened in Belgium, and Christians were rounded up in Kano, Kaduna, and massacred, right? Nigeria,
this is several years
I'm coming,
ago.
several years ago. Currently now, Boko Haram is killing everybody, right? Now, the question is, in the government of Nigeria, religion plays a role.
Of course.
The state is involved.
How do you say that?
The state is
the
involved.
state is not,
I'm coming. The
it's not
state
religious.
is involved in religion. When the state begins to sponsor pilgrims to Mecca, to Israel, the state becomes involved in religion, right? The state, for a union like Nigeria, the state has no business in religion.
It shouldn't.
right?
It shouldn't.
I'm coming.
We're a federation.
Even if you're a federation,
I remember
the
during the
state
election,
should not play a role
Obi,
in religion.
It's down to the people of the state,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I think it depends also on the people of the state as
That's
you're
what
saying.
I'm saying.
Because I saw a report when one of the governors in the north was declaring something to do with the normal thing that the Muslim,
The Hajj.
not the Hajj, but
What,
the
Sharia?
Muslim, the Sharia law.
Yeah, they have Sharia in some-
and then
in some
he had to
states.
be taken to he had to be taken to court.
I was
over
coming to that.
That's
When-
why I'm saying
I'm coming to
somewhere
that.
along the way,
When
it
Femi
plays a
says-
certain part.
Femi says religion does not play a part.
Yeah, no,
Recently,
I think people are hijacking and trying
in
to
the,
use
in the north,
use
Okay.
that
they
as
have
an
10
excuse.
states have declared Sharia.
Sharia law, yeah.
Right. The other states in the east have not declared crusade.
Okay. But if
Which-
all they are following,
I'm coming to that.
all of them are following the same.
No, I'm
all of
coming
them
to
are following
that.
the same Nigerian
I'm coming to
constitution.
that. You know why I
They
say
are following Nigerian constitution. Yeah.
See, in the east and in the west,
Yeah.
you have a mixture of Christianity
Yeah.
and Muslim, especially in the Yoruba area in the west.
Yeah.
Now, we cannot, if in the whole east, we're like 99% Christians.
Yeah.
We declare the whole of the east as Christian state or whatever name. Like the last name I used, and you say, okay, because we are Christians,
Yeah.
we now want to implement Christian laws.
Yeah, but what law are we
I'm coming, sir.
implementing at the moment?
Recently,
The law is a
recently,
Christian law. Did you know that?
Recently,
Yeah.
a police officer was arrested by the Islamic police for drinking. A police officer in Nigeria. So in the north, the Islamic police is even more powerful than the Nigerian police.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we must.
I'm trying to put things in perspective here.
Can I have Obi say something
Femi,
on the
Femi,
Look, the fact of the matter is that, look, religion is very touchy in Nigeria and people use it a lot for political reasons, some people. I'm not saying that you are. But what I'm saying to you is that most of these politicians jump on that religion and use it as a thing to bash why Nigeria is where it is. I was more in tune with what you were talking about in terms of having this dialogue. But the problem I have with this idea of dialogue is that we've had several constitutional conferences already.
Okay.
During OBJ's time, we had constitutional conference, spent billions of naira, yes? During Goodluck Ebele Johnson's time, he has spent billions of naira again on constitutional conference. Is it correct or not?
Yeah.
Did it amount to anything? No. During the times of Babangida, did he not do this likewise? During the time of the military of Abacha, did they not? What I'm just trying to say to you is that we can talk about this talking shop all day long.
Yeah.
I personally don't think that's going to achieve anything.
Yeah.
Where the thing is now is in the legislature.
Okay,
And to
okay,
me,
okay.
they have been elected to do a job. If they're not doing their job, then it's down to we the people to be talking to them, say that you are legislators, you're there to do our bidding. No, let's be honest with
Yeah,
ourselves.
yeah,
You're from
that's
Imo.
not-
Are you not from Imo?
Femi, that's
No,
not
but are you not
possible.
from Imo? Are you? You're not. Are you?
That's not possible.
Wait. It's not. It is possible.
Yeah.
You-
We
it
have
is
a
possible.
country
Come on.
today. We have a country today where we've seen some parts, some legislators, some senators come out openly to speak on behalf of the people.
Yeah.
The next day, you see them prop up some allegations against them.
If they've got skeletons in their cupboard, that's their problem.
Shehu Sani
Yeah, yeah.
just came out of 30 days
If he's got skeleton in his
quarantine
cupboard,
in the
that's his
TSA
problem.
in the state
Okay.
security of.
Okay.
The truth about Nigeria is that if we want a nation,
Yeah.
we have to act like people, genuine people who want a nation. He's referred to some, what is it?
Constitutional conferences, national conferences.
The truth
We have
about it
many
is
of
that
them.
Nigeria is intelligent in the negative sense. You know why I say that? When a national conference is called, what do? They select the problems of Nigeria to go to that place. The same politicians are selected and they are paid for just sitting down. They do nothing. But when you
No, they
want,
did do something. You could
well,
read the book.
all the documents, I have read everything.
Okay, so
all
they did do
documents,
something.
documents that are not
So
implemented.
what
The
makes
truth
you think
about
that
it-
your consultation will be any different? Why would
the
it be any
truth about
different?
it is that the Truth and Reconciliation Committee in South Africa,
Yeah.
we saw how open, how transparent.
Is it solving the problems in South Africa now?
I'm coming. How open, how transparent it was. To a
Was
very
it
large
really that
extent.
transparent? It wasn't.
It was, it
I didn't
was,
see Pick
it
Botha
was.
say anything fantastic
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And there's so many.
If Botha cannot say something,
And there's so many
a slave
people.
master,
Look,
a
there's-
slave master
look,
can
come
never
on.
say
Listen, that was everybody knows
Listen,
that. That Truth
Listen,
Commission.
can I come in? Can I come in here?
Go on.
It's 50 years since the end of the war.
Yeah.
And one of the key things I'm trying to find what is brewing up about the Biafra war since it ended. Now, there's a talk that the Western governments have been funding Nnamdi Kanu, or they have been supporting him in certain way. I was reading somewhere in
Conspiracy
America.
theories.
In America, he got. He had even been invited to meet Donald Trump.
look.
I don't know whether that's true or
Look,
not, but I saw that in the
look,
media.
the thing-
And in Africa as well, a couple of African governments, even in Belgium, I think, when he was visiting there. Now, this is sort of pushing that
Look,
bit.
the truth of the matter is,
Yeah.
as I've always
It's-
said,
it's not
if you
true
look
in
at the
other
history,
words.
no, I want
It's
to,
not
I
true.
want to look, no, I want to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
The origins of the Biafran coup, I mean Biafran war, for example. I keep telling people the Biafran war, Biafra itself.
Had no Western
No,
government
what
involvement.
I'm going to tell you,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
did.
okay,
They did.
yeah.
It would have had no legs. It would have had no legs if it didn't have the backing of the French.
Okay.
If the French, and why were they stoking the whole thing? Because of the oil resources in the Niger Delta in the south, because the East controlled that area at that time.
Okay.
The French wanted to control that, and that was why it was in their interest to fund and extend the war to as long as it did. All right.
All right.
Now, without the French backing, the war wouldn't have extended to the way it did, and it would have finished much quicker. You understand? So there are always situations where foreign powers have a reasoning why they want to get involved in other countries' problems.
So
And
it's true about now.
I can't say who and who will be the ones, but you only need to look at Libya and see the mess that's happening there.
Okay.
You've got the Turkish there, you've got the Russians there, the Greeks there, the Italians there, the French there. They created that mess, and it's continued to get worse and worse.
So one thing I can
someone will
say-
benefit from
someone
this
will.
situation.
Okay.
One thing I can
yeah,
tell you is
yeah.
that he who wears the shoe knows where it pinches. The truth
Okay.
about it is,
I like that.
The
I'll keep,
question-
I'll keep that in mind.
yeah, the question that I will ask most people who criticize the issue of Biafra is, what does Nigeria stand to lose
If Biafra goes.
If Biafra goes, Nigeria, does it stand to lose
I
anything?
was telling you about one man who was telling me about that justice
Yeah.
evening.
If
who was
Nigeria,
simply,
if
let the
Nigeria has,
let the Igbos
yeah,
go.
if
Yeah.
Nigeria has something to lose, then Nigeria should deal with the Biafran issue pragmatically and diplomatically and with a real sense of urgency and sincerity. If Nigeria feels that we don't need them, Femi said something about Biafra being landlocked. That's not true.
Oh,
Igbo
it's
land,
absolutely it's 100%
Igbo land is
true.
not landlocked.
It is.
And
It's
again,
100%
even
true.
if we are landlocked, which is not true. I know that from Azumiri to the Atlantic Ocean, it's something that is doable for us.
Which
So some
state
of
is that?
us,
Which state is that?
Azumiri is in Abia State, and I can tell you the
So
truth.
you have to go
Some of us have done a lot of research on that.
Yeah,
We are not
definitely-
landlocked, and even if we are
landlocked.
landlocked, we can
landlocked.
survive. But the truth about it is that if Nigeria says Biafra is a problem, you do not deal with the problem by the Operation Python dances that have been killing our young people and ravaging our land. The thing is that first thing that you do when there is an issue is to study why is this thing happening. The second thing you ask yourself is there something we can do
about it,
to regain the confidence of these people. I give you a typical example where, because when Femi is talking, I look at a few things that are happening. Boko Haram is killing people on a day-to-day basis. The government has been fighting Boko Haram. They capture some of the Boko Haram terrorists. They retrain them and integrate them into the army. But then you come down to the east.
Have you got proof of that?
I'm not so sure
it's
about
everywhere.
that. That's not factual. They reintegrate them into society, not into the army.
They them
Not into the army.
and then the army.
Not into the army. That's
some
not
of
true.
them have joined the army.
That is not true.
If
That's
Nigeria
not true.
says they've not joined the
That's
army,
not
they should
true.
categorically come out and
That's
say
not
so.
true. Well, you're saying it, and you haven't got the evidence to prove what you're saying.
The truth about it is, the same, if you really want a nation, you act like somebody who wants a nation. Nigeria as it is does not, it's not behaving in a way that will give everybody, all the component parts of Nigeria, the confidence to say, I am Nigeria.
I disagree.
And that is the truth. Now, the issue about Biafra, if these people, we are saying, if you don't want us, your body language is showing you don't want us, your attitude, the policies you're implementing in our place saying you don't want us. We are the people now saying this.
No. You're one of the people. You're not speaking. You can't be speaking for every Igbo man. You're speaking
we
for
are
people.
The people.
You should speak for yourself.
You know one thing I can tell you.
You should speak for yourself.
You know one thing I can tell you.
You can't speak for every single Igbo man.
When some Igbo people come out and they tell you they don't believe in Biafra, I tell you the truth, ignore them.
Oh, that's
in the deepest heart of every Igbo man is a long game. One thing the Igbo people do not want, I stand to be corrected, is war.
They don't want war.
Yes, a lot of Igbo people will tell you we don't want war. But not that if you drop Biafra on their laps today, they will not take it. That person will be lying. Because nobody, no individual on earth that does not want a progressive society. So if the Biafran thing is becoming an issue for Nigeria,
is there a guarantee that Biafra will be a progressive society? Where's the guarantee?
The most important thing they can do is to sit down and look at all the issues of all the ethnic minorities. I'm not just saying this. I'm not just saying the Igbos. Like he rightly said, every person is marginalized.
How many
they are killing more people in Benue.
How many countries are we going to have at the end of this day?
But the truth is, if you don't do that, if you do that and then you define policies that you can implement that will make everybody have a sense of belonging. Look at Rwanda, for God's sake. After the genocide, it took one man to build Rwanda today. Rwanda is progressing steadily. If you go to
some say he's being a dictator.
But one thing you should know about Rwanda, let me explain something. I come from Uganda, and Rwanda is very close to the border.
They've got issues with Uganda.
I've been there, and I've seen, and it's easier for him because the population is low. And secondly,
it's landlocked. It's a small country. There's hardly anything going on.
It's easier. That's what I'm saying.
You know the truth. You can say that.
And another thing is the language. The languages. The tribes are. You're talking about Tutsi and Hutus. But when you look at Nigeria,
no. Don't do that. No. You have to give that man. You have to give that man the credit.
I've given
he
credit.
He came out after the genocide.
Yeah.
He came in and started doing something positive.
No, 100%.
Do you know how many heads of state we've had in Nigeria?
Yeah.
If one or two of them had done what this man did in Rwanda, maybe we would be on the path.
Yeah, but hold on. Let me come in here a little bit. The thing is the history of Rwanda and the history of Nigeria. The damage which is already done in Nigeria, right from the 60s up to today, is massive. Even if it was Kagame to try and create something trust me, you will have problems.
Stephen, I'm glad, Stephen, I'm glad you even said what you said.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
No. What Stephen said is correct. Then do we continue to dwell on problems? Or do we begin to find solutions?
Of course.
Because the truth about it is that what Femi has said, what I have said, what you've said, most of us are correct to a very large extent. Now, which means that Nigeria know what the problem of Nigeria is. The question that we will then need to ask ourselves is, are we finding the solution? Are we better off 50 years after the war? 60 years after,
what do you think about that?
60 years after independence. 60 years after independence. We got independence in 1960. We're in 2020. Have we
and I would say we have. I would say we have. We definitely have. We definitely have.
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
I believe we have advanced.
Yeah.
But the question is, go on.
Yeah. But this is what beats me with most of Africa. The fact that people can go and develop their own areas. Those, for example, I can see what if the Igbos, for example, stand together and say, you know what, there are 15 Igbos here. We can build a hospital if each one gets this amount of money, and so on and so on. This kind of development has helped in so many other areas where people go, even in my own country, in my village, people said, no, you know what, we're not going to wait for the government to have a water system. We're not going to have, when I took Al Jazeera there, we came up with something and solutions came in and we said what we need. So I'm looking at the Igbo situation now in Nigeria. All Nigerian states, people are marginalized because of this and that. It's a common feature in Africa. But there can be ways in which you say, you know what, let's start from the ground.
That's what we need to ask Femi.
Stephen, that's why
representing the Nigerian institution.
Femi,
what do you have in place?
Okay, let's see.
My answer is quite simple. That people need to look inwards. You see, so if you have a problem in Abia State, Umaya, for example, or in Olu, or anywhere in the east, okay, it's nothing to do with Abuja. You need to look at what's happening in your state. If you're not creating jobs, if your governor's not creating jobs, if your local authority is not creating jobs, if you as a business person are not creating jobs, if you choose to take your business acumen out of the east and go to anywhere else, you're devastating your own people. So at the end of the day, what are you doing for your people? All this crying, I'm sorry to say.
So you're saying, the eastern people should stay in the east.
I'm not saying that they should stay.
I'm not go outside the east to
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm
not saying that they should do that. What I'm saying is that if you are clamoring that you're suffering, as you were trying to enlighten that, you are the ones that can solve your problems.
I don't think we are clamoring that we're suffering. We are clamoring that we can be better. And
what is stopping you from being better? That's why
because the Nigerian system does not allow individual and collective growth.
You don't need to go to a federal government to get a job, to be a successful businessman. You don't need to be employed by any government to be a successful. No, I'm just trying to tell you to have good.
All the things on the exclusive. What do you need for a nation to grow?
Exclusive list has only got things to do with defense, things to do with natural resources and stuff like that. But there are a lot of other things that have nothing to do with health, education, and agriculture. Look, if you want to do with some raw materials, you don't need to go to the federal government. The point. Hold on. Can I just get in? The point is, I just see it as excuses for people who don't want to look inwards and solve their problems and look to the government and say the federal government is the excuse why we're failing. It's not an excuse anymore. If you guys are failing within your system, within your state, within your local government, within your village, within your town, you need to deal with it. Now, it's just like people in, look, I said,
what you're saying
just to finish, just in Odua, for example, I've got people that are saying, oh, we want to do Odua Republic now. We want to do this. We want to do actualization. I said, okay, you guys are deceiving yourself because half the people don't want it. You say you want it, blah, blah. Just like he's saying they want it. Half the people want it, half the people don't want it. And I said to them, where's the boundary going to be? Where is the boundary going to be? And like you said, with all the different splinter groups, different nationalities, how many countries are we going to create out of Nigeria? How many countries are we going to create? And how are they going to be sustainable? It's just like now we have 36 states and we have states that are not viable. So what's the point?
Viable,
They're not viable. They're not viable.
The question
So they will need assistance from the others.
Do you know this question Femi is asking us today? He should be asking Buhari.
No, I shouldn't.
No, seriously.
Asking
Do you know why I say he should be asking Buhari?
Yeah.
If the head is not functioning,
the
other components of the body will not.
Yeah, but
no, that's
I'm coming.
Yeah.
Do you know why I say that?
Yeah.
I mentioned the exclusive list. Yeah, there's so much there that can be dispensed. Secondly, when you say people should develop their states, what do we do with a federal road that is untouchable? Right?
It is touchable. It is touchable. It is touchable.
The federal road is untouchable.
No, it's touchable, but if you do it, what happened is, I'm gonna get
if you want commerce to grow, what do you put in place? Roads, yeah? Electricity has to be in place.
Hospitals and stuff like that.
Hospitals have to be in place.
Who should build the roads in your state?
I'm coming. There are roads that belong to the state, and there are roads that belong to the federal government.
So if the federal government doesn't do it, you should keep it rubbish and not fix it yourself.
As far as I know,
if you allow to, do it, because some
are you saying that a state governor is allowed to tar a federal road in Nigeria?
Let me explain to you what happens in Nigeria, and this is the problem. It's the politicians. It's what they call the bloody politicians. I'm sorry to say those words, but what it is, they are the problem. Because what will happen is that the government will say, we the state government repaired the federal government road. We want the money back. But maybe they did it for like maybe 2 billion. They will now go to the government and say it was 20 billion. Do you understand? That kind of nonsense. You understand? And not only that, I think I actually belong, as part of what you're saying about true federalism, personally, once the federal government has built a road in your state, it should be transferred to the state. It's your job to maintain it and keep it going. Why should the federal government be burdened with that? No.
So you're not talking about the same solution that we've talked about.
State governments should deal with it themselves. And their failure, because at the end of the day, like you said, if the roads are not commutable in your state, it's your people that are going to be suffering.
The local roads, the governors need to fix the local road. The
federal roads.
The federal roads are the responsibility of the federal government.
I actually believe that. If I were the governor, I would fix the roads. If you now say I've not seen the Senate debate that. I've not seen the Senate change the law to say all governors can now tar any road in their state, including federal roads. Don't you think we should change the law? Don't you think that law should be changed?
If they want to change it, they will.
No. It needs someone to put it forward.
You see the problem that I keep talking about here. For a people to progress, there has to be things in place.
Of course.
Right? In the IT industry, there's something we say, we identify risk. And then we categorize the risk. And then we deal with them in terms of that categorization. Anybody who calls himself a president, a governor, a minister, whatever, you need to do the same thing. Understand what your society wants. Identify the core needs of the people or of the society that can enable growth. Now, electricity is, as we speak now, virtually non-starter. Now,
can I say
if you don't have enough electricity distribution in a country, how will the industry, local industry
I want to cut you short. All the things that you're talking about point in one direction, that the leadership is a mess.
The leadership,
that's where the problem is.
The leadership has to take responsibility.
Of course, it won't never take responsibility, because unless you fight corruption in Nigeria, if you don't do that, nothing is going to happen. That is where the biggest problem is. Now,
do you know the way you can fight corruption in Nigeria? The political system we have is corrupt.
Of course it is.
Now, it takes 200 million. About 200 million for somebody to go to the House of Reps, right? We don't have the same thing like in the UK here, where you become a member of Labour. For you to become a senator, you need to spend close to 500 million. Right? So even the politics in itself.
Why would anyone want to spend that money? Why should they allow them to do that?
Because they will get more money once they
exactly because the system we have in place is wrong.
The system is wrong. I agree, and we can't change that system, by the way. We can only advise and so on.
That's why
But my main worry, from what we've discussed, is that even if a person tries to do it from outside, because I remember I attended the lecture, and there was a lecturer from London School of Economics, who was explaining, he went to Anambra after he had seen the problems in the villages and so on, because he went for a graduation ceremony of one of his students, and he saw the problem, he saw what was going on, you know, in the state. So he went out, he said, okay, I'm taking £10,000, trying to find jobs for young people in this area, try and do ABCD, and built up a kind of like a job center where he would, you know, look for jobs for young people in the area, and so on. And the thing became big. But you know what happened? The state governor appeared out of the blue. The state governor appeared out of the blue, and he started, wanted to get involved in the project and so on. And then the next thing, the youth didn't want him to get involved, because they were saying, look, he's been here as a governor for the last, you know what, 10 years or so. He has done nothing. Now, he sees something is developing, and we are putting something, and this man is bringing in money, less money, which is developing the areas. You know what they do? They denied him a visa.
They denied him a visa.
Yeah, they worked towards that.
My final question.
And the next thing is, he left the country. The project went down.
Yeah.
Over something like 2,000 to 3,000 people.
A lot
who
of
are
us
being
have
up.
seen all that. My
So
final question to Femi
the structure
would be,
is such that everything has not just the ground. You people you have good intentions, but the problem is the problems are there on the ground as
They are
well.
there.
Now,
they're there.
what can we do? There has to be something.
Well,
there has to be something that
You
someone
wanted
can.
to say, you said his final question. What
Yeah,
was
yeah.
that?
No. I think he just asked you the same question.
The thing is, see, that's why I always say these easy solution, these panaceas that, oh, if we just do Biafra tomorrow, Biafra will be solved, Nigeria will be solved, everybody will be solved, or if we do this, Nigeria is so complex.
Yeah.
And I think even President Buhari has realized that, you know, being a president of the nation is such a major task.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, when he first went for presidency, and it was Goodluck Jonathan and the presidency, I said, you've got the choice of two bad eggs. You know? Because you got that one who was Goodluck Jonathan was, we want him because he's corrupt and all the rest of it. Then we had the old man, which is Buhari, blah, 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 Baba go slow. Anyway, because of his fight, so-called court fight against corruption, he won. You understand? Second time round, it was Atiku against Mr. Buhari. Again, is it the articulated one, the one that's the corrupted guy, or is it the corrupt-free guy? But at the end of the day, it doesn't solve the problem on the ground. And what is the problem? And this is what I say, is the lack of opportunity. Government must start thinking about, I mean, they're talking about poverty alleviation, yeah? But those are the people at the lowest of the lowest. And it's not even, and the numbers of them, they're over 880 million people who are on the lowest of the lowest. How can the government hit each one of them? But it's people want aspiration. The reason why Corbyn and Labour lost is because they were talking about people suffering, and the government's not doing this, the NHS and that. Well, people want aspiration. They want to be successful. They want to know that I can get a job, I can do business, I can be successful, I can make profit, I can expand, I can do this. So our governments need to start creating aspiration at every level, in every state, in all over the place. When people are aspiring and succeeding, they won't have time for this marginalization, because if you're not working with the government, marginalization is not affecting you. And not only that, when people are succeeding, there are more chances of them overturning the decades of how can I put it, the system that is just corrupt. It needs a complete overhaul. So we need to concentrate on meritocracy and not mediocrity. You understand? All this federal character and all this nonsense, it needs to go. And it will go if the legislators start making changes to our constitution. You laugh, but that's even this so-called Biafra referendum that you want. It's not going to happen if the legislators don't do something. So that is where you need to spend your attention. Get the legislators to make a difference. And the funny thing is, if you don't, and the thing is, you cannot, no nation, because Nigeria is a series of several nations, can do anything in isolation. You cannot do it without the cooperation of the others. So if you think you're going to stand alone and achieve whatever you want to achieve, it's not possible. We have realized that after 50 years. So the sooner the people start latching that, I want to get this. It's like Amoteco, for example. People might think that, oh, the Southwest did blah, but they used a strategy there, which at the end of the day, they linked back into the legislature, went back to all those people. And what are they talking about now? They're talking about the same thing. community policing and so on. So people need to work on their strategies properly. I think we live in a sort of everybody needs everybody.
Now,
It's a small world.
You see something
so they need
before
to
we end
cooperate.
this,
Yeah,
you see
but
something
we're coming towards the end of the program, and there's something about that I wanted to ask. Of course, Nnamdi Kanu, we've talked about him, but there is something about a previous organization, MOSAP, which their leader went in prison and so on, and that one died. It was another Igbo organization.
No, MOSAP is not an Igbo organization. It's called the Movement for Actualization of Biafra. He's still there.
But the way when he went to prison and he went down.
No, he went to prison. It was Obasanjo that locked him up, and then he came out. He continued at his own pace. And currently there's a new person taking over from him. The truth of the matter is that Femi has touched on it. The question that everybody needs to ask themselves, how long can the people continue with this trial and error method? Do the people have a right to seek for alternatives? Now, if Nigeria is working, like he rightly said, I know when I was growing up as a young man, I could just go to the tap and I'd get water for there was electricity, there was the tap was running, school was beautiful, you got your WAEC, what is it called, your JAMB letter at home, giving you admission. Now all these things have fallen apart to a very large extent. Standard of education in Nigeria is bad. If a graduate writes a letter to you, you will weep. Something that when I was in secondary school, I could even write better, and then now a graduate cannot. So the standard of education is fallen. Now the fundamental question is, let us leave Nnamdi Kanu out of this. Nnamdi is speaking from the abundance of his heart. And Nnamdi is speaking the mind of millions of people, whether we want to accept that or not. And you could attest to it by the number of people who followed him. It was like there was a sleeping lion and somebody came and woke them up. Let us not look at those millions of people who are saying we want Biafra and they ignore their cry. Because what my people say, that when a child is crying and pointing at a direction, if the mother is not there, the father is there. So the fundamental question is, why has Biafra resurrected again 50 years after the genocide?
There must be
is there something that has triggered it? It can't just be out of lack of nothing to do. There is something that is triggering this. And if Nigeria can look back to say, why is this thing resonating now? When Nnamdi called for sit at home, the whole East was shut down. Everybody respected it.
Some people
will disobey.
They were intimidated.
They will tell you they're intimidated.
Of course they were. Of course they were. They will always be there.
I was at home when the last one was called.
I saw people that wanted to go to the shop and they were intimidated.
Let me tell you the truth.
This is the truth.
Yes,
you don't want to tell us the truth.
No, some people will tell you. Some people will feel intimidated. No, now let's be serious.
I was trying to get some other people's opinion.
Yeah, some people will feel intimidated.
Right.
Some people will feel intimidated in such regards, because it's not, like he rightly said, it's not everybody that believes in Biafra. But if you drop a referendum today, you will be shocked as to the number that will go for it.
We saw what happened in Scotland.
The truth about this is,
I can't seem to be getting my message.
The truth about
there
it
are so many people who are
what the federal government is doing today.
They're not anti-Femi.
What the federal government is doing today, instead of trying to quash the Biafran agitation by force and bloodletting, is it the best approach? If people are agitating for Oduduwa, for Biafra, for Middle Belt, or whatever we want to say, the fundamental question will be, how can we solve these problems in terms of the government looking at all the problems and saying to us as a people, I genuinely want Nigeria to grow. We have identified all these problems.
I wanted a couple of messages that have been coming on, and people, of course, somebody telling Mazi, you're doing a great job. That's good. And I thought, you're doing a good job. Say something so that you are here. Watch this video. It's wonderful. Another one is praising Femi. I won't go into details because the time is running up. Have friends who should see the video and share. Emmanuel to serve Richard and others are just putting their names and saying great, 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 great. They've been watching, and obviously Chukwe Ngozi, I think that's an Igbo.
Yes,
yeah. She says it's lovely. Susan Sadi Smith, well done, Mazi. What is the second name? Ojelo Ngozi. I'm
the servant of the people.
The servant of the people. That's what it means.
Yes.
Okay. Nana Michael says it's wonderful. Most of them is small messages. Kredi Eze Ozo Azeji Ozoma, who says Igbos do belong to Nigeria. You have to listen to Obi, please.
I'm not disagreeing with
saying,
I've already
Femi
said
should be listening
no,
to.
no, I'm listening. No,
Okay.
for me as a Nigerian, he's
my
also
brother.
proclaimed as a Nigerian, having
Okay,
been all over the place.
Femi, you're my brother, and you should listen to Obi. Krode Ozeji Ozuma. Sorry about my pronunciation of the names,
all right.
but there are quite so many of them who have been going on. I think next time we put. Ozzy has a point. Ozzy has a point. Good for you. That's somebody supporting Femi, obviously.
Yeah.
Well done, Mozi Obi Okoli. We are proud of you. They're very proud of you.
Look, the thing is,
continue the good job. This guy with the red cap. I don't know what is happening in Nigeria. He's deluded.
They can say whatever they want.
I won't say his name anyway.
Say whatever they want. I mean, there's always haters out there.
Not a single clue. That you don't have a single clue.
So long as my views doesn't atone with his own, I'm never going to have a clue.
Well, most of the things I think are probably coming from there. Why can't this man shut up? Leave it at that. Now, okay, this Femi of a man is confused. All right, Mazi, you are great. Well, there seem to be. I'm going to say, God bless Mazi. You are getting a lot of.
No, seriously. Like I said earlier, I think it's
the man in red should please take his time and do more research.
No, but Femi, what Femi has said.
His name is Femi.
No, seriously, what Femi has said
is happening in Nigeria.
Is correct to a very large extent.
Misrepresenting the Igbo with the outfit. On the point,
he doesn't know where I'm from. He can say what he's like. He can say what he likes.
Others says that who is that madman with the cap? Anyway,
they can say what they like.
Ibeji Osugwe says we need a Rwanda. Okay, we might mention that. The man in a red cap is okay. We leave that. The man in the red cap.
The thing is, Steve, remember this program.
We've watched more Igbos. I think the program. There have been more Igbos.
Yeah, and it's obvious. Again, this is a program about Biafra and 50 years of Biafra. So it's no wonder that you're going to get these kinds of
somebody supporting you here.
No,
you get somebody.
There will be. The point is, the point I'm saying is, I'm actually not for the fragmentation of Nigeria.
You're doing a good job, and that you should continue with it. So
Femi, listen, to be very honest with you, nobody in his right mind will wake up one morning if everything is all right and say you want to fragment the country.
So the question for me,
the government.
Mazi, my point is that with what you just said there, I think that if they spent more energies in fixing Nigeria than trying to break it up, it will be a win-win for everybody. So if we can spend more energies fixing the mess, that would be the one for Nigeria.
Femi,
but a lot of them don't.
Femi, do you know something? When you say that, I look at the younger generation today, and
somebody has got something here which probably came into our attention at some point, and he's saying, look, is it time Nigeria starts looking abroad for maybe some kind of foreign intervention?
No,
if we are mentioning corruption and so on, maybe we need
every country in the world have their own problems. And to be very honest with you, if we, like I have always said, if we want a nation, we need to create a nation. But we cannot say we want a nation and based on lip services. The truth is that the action of the political elites in Nigeria cannot enable Nigeria to function as a nation.
Unless we change the narrative.
For us to change the narrative, I was about answering that. When I was in Unijust as a student in 1980-something, I believed in Nigeria with all my heart. And I know how many of us that went to the street to demonstrate. I saw students shot by live bullets, dead and all that. Because everybody felt we wanted a nation. Even at that time, they removed, I think, half kobo for oil subsidy, and we went to the street. The truth is about it is that a lot of people want Nigeria to function, but the political elites do not want Nigeria to function.
So how do we change the political elite?
Sowore came up one morning and said, let us call for...
Sowore is not a serious person.
No, I'm coming, but Sowore said, let us call for a revolution. We go to the street and show them how unhappy we are. They shut him down, they locked him up. It took America to ask them to release him. Have you considered how many IPOB members are languishing in prison without fair trial, held in very terrible conditions? These young men have no lawyers to bail them. The only lawyer that was bailing them out, they alleged he killed some people, burnt his house. The man has gone away now.
Yeah, but what do you think of the situation where the government gives someone bail and then the bail person absconds, like Nnamdi Kanu?
How did Nnamdi Kanu never absconded?
He didn't abscond?
Nigeria,
Why
as
wasn't he
far as
back in
I am
Nigeria to face his
concerned,
trial?
Nnamdi never absconded.
So how did he leave Nigeria?
I'm coming to that. For God's sake, you released this young man on bail. A senator released him, met the bail conditions, and you gave him...
Do you know that one of the conditions that he shouldn't leave the country?
Yeah. You gave him conditions, right?
Not to leave the country.
One was not to leave the country. Two was not to organize public appearance. Beautiful. And he failed his bail condition. What do you do in a civilized, sensible society? You re-arrest him and take him back to prison, right? Pending the judgment. Now, why would you send the military to his house? They killed more than 50-something young people. Up till now, they're still finding some in the bushes. Now, you went to kill him, and then you was asking him, why didn't he stay and wait to be killed?
I can't verify
the army went there, they shot everybody, everything that was moving.
I can't verify those facts.
And then you expecting Nnamdi Kanu to stay in that same country.
Those facts.
No, but they're there. The videos are there.
I've not seen any of
the
these
dead bodies of all these people are there. Why would you say it never existed?
I've not seen these
I
videos.
can name some of them that I know personally. Nonso was there.
Gentlemen, we're coming towards the end of the program. I just need the last words from both of you, at least. But those issues are not going away.
You see why I say
they're going to be with us.
You see why I say he who wears the shoe. Those guys. We saw what happened in Afara. Our young men were mowed down in cold blood. And then Nnamdi Kanu was in the house. And then he managed to escape. And somebody is asking, why didn't he stay back to be killed?
Okay. No, I don't want to go.
Can I have one last word? I think he's probably already used this.
My last word. My last word is, as I say, I'm not for the fragmentation of Nigeria. I'm for the unity of Nigeria. And we need to work harder to solve the problems that is stopping the young and those who need jobs from prosperity. I think when we get good leadership, good organization and administration, that's what we should be striving for. And pointing the faults in the system to those that matter so that they can change it for the greater good of everybody. Highlighting all these problems and making them change is what we need to do. If we leave things as they are, fragment and it's just going to lead to more fragmentation, and more fragmentation, there'll be no solution. You've seen Iraq, you've seen Libya, you've seen a plethora of other countries. It's not going to solve any problems. And in order for anyone to leave, if there is a situation where anyone is to leave, it needs the cooperation and acceptance of everybody, just like with Scotland. And if everybody's saying no, then you know that agenda is not going to happen. We need to move forward. We need to move forward. Well, maybe not in this generation, but maybe in the next generation. Just like in Scotland. Scotland is not happening now. Maybe the next generation.
You have less than maybe 10 words or something.
The only thing I can say is if you want good, sow good. If you want bad, sow evil. Nigeria cannot sow evil and expect good. We cannot continue to do the same thing and expecting a different result. So if it is Biafra agitation, whatever, if you want a unified country, do the right thing, make everybody have a sense of belonging.
Okay.
If you cannot do that, then we have our right as individuals to aspire to leave the country or the amalgamation of 1914. And that is our inalienable right, that we do not need the consultation of the Arewa Republic or the Duwa Republic to leave Nigeria. It's our right. If you don't do that, then give us confederation. Let us have some sort of competition within Nigeria to make Nigeria grow. Give us confederation, and then let's try out in 10 years' time where we all will be.
I do hope that will happen at some point in future, and maybe
we
there will
we
be
have devolved government here in the UK.
Maybe there will be some kind of
devolved government. Wales or whatever. But it's still an independence.
Yeah, but let's start from that. Let's start from that.
Maybe it will happen. Maybe it will happen. You never know. Changes often come. Constitutions are there to be changed.
Yeah, human made it.
Yeah, so man made it, so you can always change it.
We can't be crying and you're oppressing us with Python dance. We are not too scared of it anymore.
I just want to thank both of you for coming here and tell us about this. It's wonderful. We started well. We wanted Biafra. We wanted to know what's going on in Biafra. You have enlightened the people out there, and I do hope from the messages I've received that somewhere with the ideas have come forward. They may be used in future, because somebody took an idea from here to a politician, and I'm very happy it's being used in that part, in that part of Africa. So you never know, some of the ideas you've brought out here could be used over there. I just want to say thank you very much for being with us tonight, and I do hope that we'll be together again next week for another edition of Africa Speaks. May God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Mazi.
Well done, sir.
Well done.
To be.